Welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to paint a landscape on this watercolor paper, and we are going to use transparent watercolors. I'll come to the actual colors I'm going to use in a bit. But before that, I want to show you the sketches which I had done, colored sketches, thumbnails, if you want to call them that. Before I get into painting a slightly larger size, this is A5. The reason for that is it gives me an idea of what the painting is going to look like, and it also brings out what difficult areas are going to be there and what I need to take care of while painting the scene. So with that preparation in mind, I'm ready to paint it on a larger scale. You might call this a smaller scale or a larger scale depending on what you are used to. But then I feel for painting practice, A5 is a very good size because you can finish the painting in a small amount of time, and it also gives you the confidence of completing a painting while having to tackle all the problems that the painting is going to give you. So you might want to try this on a larger scale, but I would suggest strongly that you start with the sketches A5 size painting and then go on to painting the larger version. So now with that said, let me quickly sketch this painting on this paper. This is a 230 GSM paper watercolor, and I'm going to sketch this scene in. There is a small road which goes like this, and this is a hill on this side, and there is a small hill on this side through which the road goes, and there is going to be a shadow of these bunch of trees on this road as well as the grass. And on this side there is this large tree here, and behind this also there are multiple trees. So it's not just one tree which is there, it's a bunch of trees on this side as well. I'm drawing in these shapes very, very faintly, so you may not be able to see it on the video right now, but the things will become clear once we get into the painting process. Now I want to paint a tree here, and it's not at the edge of the forest, slightly before that, and so it's casting a shadow like this. And there is a tree which is closer to the woods, you want to call that. And then there are these bunch of trees which are behind in the background. And this is going to be more or less an area which is going to be very blue with distant mountain and trees on that. So with that, I'm done with the sketching part. Now let me start laying in the colors. Because we are painting with transparent watercolors, I'm going to go from light shapes to mid value shapes to darker shapes. So now let's get started with the painting process. Let me explain the colors which I'm going to use. I'll be using Prussian blue, then chrome yellow, burnt sienna, and I have alizarin crimson and Venetian red. So depending on which area I'm painting, I'll add either of these two reds. So that's yellow and some Venetian red to make it an orange. more of an yellow here. And because this color is light, it doesn't matter if I apply it to more areas than I need it to be finally. But if I don't paint it right now, there is no way I can get it later because it's a transparent and light color. Now I'll apply a slightly thinner version of that here also for this tree, and a more orangish version on this tree, or bunch of trees rather, not one tree. And the light is coming in from this side, so this side of all the trees is going to be darker. So to do that, I'm going to apply a bit of burnt sienna and just leave it here. Okay, that completes the first layer. Now let's paint the next light color, which is this green on the ground. So let me start with yellow and some Prussian blue. This gives me very light green. And same color. And a similar color goes here also. Now the third lighter shape is this blue. So very light Prussian blue. I can make it darker later on, but I just want to make it a light shape right now. This area is anyway going to be dark, so I don't mind if this color spills into this. Actually, it'll be good for me to show the sky holes. So I might as well bring it down here. And the road is going to be burnt sienna colored, which is red earth. So I'm just applying one layer of that here. So that completes the first layer of this painting. I will allow this to dry a bit, and after that come in and start laying the further layers.
If this video is helping you so far, please press the like button, subscribe to my channel, and also press the notification button. Thank you for that.
This layer has dried a bit now, and now I can come in and start adding the darks and the midtones. So to start with, what I will do is I will start laying in the darks here so that I get the contrast going, and then I can fine tune the middle tones. So I want to make this darker, or rather before that I will paint this area and then make it that color dark and then apply it here. So let me start with this. Now I'll be painting in a negative manner, in the sense that I will carve out areas from this light colored shape. So those are kind of the distant trees, or just drop in a few hints of lighter color, maybe a red, something like this. It's too green. I want something reddish. Yeah, this will do. Just some hints, maybe a touch of yellow ochre also will do, because that's a slightly opaque color and it does create some interesting effects. So the point in laying in this or dropping in this color is that I want to make this area also interesting. I don't want to make it like a flat area. This is actually a piece of mountain on which there are these dark trees which we are seeing from a distance. So if I don't add these variations in, then it would look like a flat area, which I don't want it to look like. So now I will need to make this color darker. So I'm taking in more of that, and to make it dark I will add some burnt sienna. And see if it's dark enough. Yes, to start with I think this is, and it also makes it slightly greener, because yellow ochre, sorry, burnt sienna is a darker version of the yellow. So it gives me that greenish tinge also, which I need. I think I should have applied this, some of this color here also. But anyway, I'll fill that in later on. I'm also starting to suggest the branches. Now again, time to paint negatively. On this side and also on this side. And I want to suggest a bunch of trees here instead of just one. So this will help me do that. Let me make some more of this color. And let's paint negatively here also. I'm keeping the strokes random right now. I can fine tune these whenever I paint details in this tree. And I don't want to keep this edge very sharp because I want to suggest grass on this side. If I keep it flat, then it won't look like grass. I'll throw in this color here also somewhere. And I will dilute this color a lot and start using that, or maybe this color, to fine tune or to paint some shapes negatively here. I'll make it more yellowish. And add more yellow here. And so on. So it separates this tree from this tree. Now it's time to bring in a smaller brush, or should we first work on this area and then this? So let's continue with this brush. And I want to, because the light is coming in from here, this trees will cast a shadow on this side. Because I want to paint the shadows, I'm slightly making this color brownish and not the same as this. And let's paint the shadow first. It's interesting that we paint the shadows before the tree itself. And here the shadow will become brownish because it's falling on the mud road or mud path, and here it will become green again. Let me quickly paint this darker brown. And let's paint the shadows of these trees also. Now let's bring in the smaller brush, and I want to start painting in the browns, and I'm mixing it here because there was some blue in here, and I want, or let me start by making a pure brown and then make it darker. So it's always better to paint light and then slowly progress to make it darker rather than trying to do the other way because we are anyway no way of using opaque watercolor here. So we can't create whites or lights. This will also have some green in it, brown green. Let's put in some brighter yellow here. And come back to the browns and the greens. There's no one color which you can apply to any tree and expect it to look like a tree, because the light shines from a particular angle and then it creates the shadows and light areas on this tree, and then there is no way you can show it as one colored and expect it to look three-dimensional. So right now I will stop here painting this tree and come back to it later once these colors settle. So again the same thing on this tree. It's going to be more yellow here. And more brown towards the base. And remember that we are not trying to paint a tree exactly as it looks. We are trying to paint an impression of tree, because we are not trying to paint the photorealistic image of what we are seeing, but we are trying to paint our impression of what we are seeing. That's the artistic license we have. Unless you want to paint photorealistic, that's the way I would approach painting. So I'm not worried about exact shapes or exact colors. As long as I can capture the essence of the scene, I'm okay with it. Now it's time to refine these trees here again. Before that, let me put in this color here. So that was this blue. So now let's paint details on these trees again. Now with a smaller brush again. Towards the top, I want to show some details, but towards the bottom of these trees, I'm going to keep it very, very vague because I don't want like here. This is almost like painting with a dry brush. I'm just suggesting some details of these trees. Now let's use this color itself, but more make it more brownish and also dilute it a bit. Don't want to use it so dark so that I can paint a few things here. Now I'll come in with a dark brown to suggest the tree trunks, at least in a few areas. Where it's visible. Maybe a thinner brush will do in these trees. And I'll use a thinner version of this, make it slightly lighter and brownish, and suggest some details on the leaves here. Time to fine tune a few areas like this one. And I also want to darken the shadow in a few areas just near the base of the tree. Now let's do some fine tuning of the shapes. These are the, I would call them sky holes technically, but these are places from where through which I can see the trees behind, which in turn kind of breaks up this shape and gives it more volume instead of being a flat cutout like thing. I also need to darken the shadow here a bit. And I will also add a line here near the edge of the pathway wherein the things can get dark because it's the edge of the road. And I need a sliver of light here because otherwise these two shapes are kind of merging into each other. So for that I'll try lifting some color. I'll do that with piece of tissue. I'm going to wet this area a bit so that I can lift the color. Yeah, that looks nice. Similarly, I need a few sky holes here or holes in these trees so that this can be seen. So for that also, I'm going to wet a few areas. And pick up the color from there. You can see that this immediately makes this shape a bit more airy and not like a block. So this is a way to correct few of your mistakes, that you just wet the area and pick up the color from there. And I think I'm almost towards the end of this painting process. This edge is looking too sharp, so I'll just run this color over this to make it soft and not so harsh. And I need to make the tree trunk a bit more dark. So for that, burnt sienna and some blue which makes it dark, and I'll paint this edge dark. And I think that's about it. Let me remove the tape to reveal the completed painting. So I'll just start by removing the tape from here. Because I have applied this tape, I'm getting these sharp edges. Make sure that you remove the tape away from the painting. Otherwise, sometimes the tape can peel off the paper, at least a layer of the paper. If you are using thick enough paper, then this peeling off doesn't happen, but sometimes you never know. So it's better to be careful that way. So that's the final painting. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I urge you to give this painting a try and see how it goes. And now it's time to watch either this video, which continues the watercolor story, or this playlist, and I will see you there.